Hello Crypters, fight fans, welcome to my Crypt Show, and welcome to Notoriety bedroom. Once again we are here. I do believe we was told to stay over here once upon a time, but who really cares? I mean, look at some of the shit I found in here. What the fuck is this shit? That should clear the cold up. Look what else I've said in here, look. Look at this shit. Fuck is that? So what we're going to be discussing for today's show in Notority's bedroom. Well, at Bellator 173, Belfast Island, it was Lee McGeary versus Brett McDermott. The third opponent changed for Lee McGeary. He did pull off the victory. Not too sure why he was fighting Chris Fields in the first place. Obviously it's a name. It was a co-promotion, Bama versus Bellator. Chris Fields has been in Bama, so it sort of probably made sense from that aspect, so just to give him a little win. He has been out of the cage for a long while. I believe it was an 18-month layoff he was talking about. But before the show, we found out who Lee McGeary's opponent would be if he was victorious, and that was going to be Linton Vassell. He did win, he was victorious, he was announced, Linton Vassell. He was officially announced that Linton Vassell is next. So I figured for today's show, why not get Linton Vassell on as the next Q&A? Because I'm starting with the Q&As now. I find it difficult to do one-to-one interviews on video or call, because it's very tough to do those half-an-hour interviews. Not because I don't want to do them, I do want to do them, but they'll be very few and far between. So I figured out a solution to a problem, which is undisclosed, that doing Q&As is just a lot better. I can video record them, no hassle, later on explain to you. I like this way anyway because it's better, because I can explain to you why I ask these questions to the fighter and sort of give my opinion too, because I don't really want to give my opinion when I'm actually interviewing somebody. Stop looking at this, Greg, and start looking there. Fucking keep doing it all the time. It will take time, believe me, but I will eventually. I mean, does it really matter where I'm looking with these fucking bags under my eyes? Anyway, let's go on to the questions. So it's 8 questions, quite long. I'm going to trim it down. Normally when I do these Q&As, it will be a lot shorter. I only intended 4 questions, but I just ended up doing 8 when I was actually speaking to Linton. So, you know, it's part of when I do the interviews. You can't help yourself. You just want to ask question after question after question. When he says something, I just want to throw a question back. I do believe I recorded about 12 answers from him. So I asked him about 12 questions. I've trimmed it down to 8, pre-recorded from last week. So for question 1. I asked Linton Vassell, how do you feel about Bellator going in the direction of Lee McGeary for your next fight? As I know you was lobbying for both Phil Davis and Ryan Bader for your next scheduled fight. If you follow Linton Vassell, he does interact with his fans, I mentioned this before. He does interact with his fans, he likes to ask his fans who he should fight next. He was mentioning names like Ryan Bader and Phil Davis. So I just wanted to know, with the promotion obviously going the way of Lee McGeary, I wanted to know how you felt about that. Obviously it's not a bad fight, former Bellator lightweight champion. He was the last champion before Phil Davis, so here's Linton's answer.
To be honest, I'm pretty happy with the choice of fight that I've got. A lot of my friends and family and my coaches would know I wasn't happy with the performance that I actually did with my Francis Carmont. In my head, I knew I could have finished him. I trained really hard for that fight. And in myself, I didn't fight my best. I had his back. I know I won one round, I think, a 10-8 round. But for me, I don't do that. I don't just hold on to people's backs. I go for finishes and I go for mount, and I didn't do that in that fight. So in my own head, I was saying, you know, I think one more fight before I got a world title fight. If they give me the world title fight, you know, I wouldn't have said no. I would have took it. But I think this is, you know, probably the fight that I need to define that I deserve that next title fight. Liam was, you know, the former champion. And obviously this fight was supposed to happen. Well, not supposed to happen. Obviously it was going to happen at some point. So I think it's a perfect timing right now.
Now this was my follow-up question. It wasn't an intended question when I wrote it down in the first place, but I did have to follow up with that. If you've watched Linton Vassell, Lee McGeary in the past, they have spoke about fighting one another because they're constantly asked by the media, are you still going to fight, are you still going to fight? Obviously, Bellator, the light heavyweight division there, it's kind of thin, especially around year and a half ago when the media started asking them if they would fight each other. They did speak about it. They both seemed okay with it, to be honest with you. Both competitors. It is a business after all. You are there to compete against the best. But I wanted to know if it would be somewhat harder to punch Lee McGarry in the face, because if you watch the old interviews with them, if you watch them together, they've obviously done media tours together as well for Bellator, and they're in the crowd together, so they built up a quite, I wouldn't say a friendship, but an acquaintance, you know, and they both seem friendly with one another. So I mean, you check out Ryan Bader's latest comments to Linton Vassell. It'd be a lot easier, I would assume, to punch somebody in the face who you're not really grown close to. Now, the reason I asked this question is because when I interviewed Colin the Freak Show Fletcher a long time ago, pretty much after he came out to Smashes and he didn't get a UFC contract, and when I was speaking to him, he said he honestly had a hard time punching Norman Park in the face, and them two were only friends on the show for a short while. We're talking about of just over a month, a couple of weeks, over a month, so about 6 weeks really. And nobody found it hard in that time to punch him in the face. I suppose it depends on the person, the personality, the individual. So let's see what kind of individual Linton Vassell is.
Yeah, out of the two, obviously it's totally different. I don't even know Ryan Bader from, I've watched him on TV. You know, yeah, me and Liam obviously are friends. We're on the same circuit together. We hang around with each other when we're at actual events. We do actually talk through social media and, you know, all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and he is in my way. And I will have to punch him up in the face, and vice versa. He's going to be punching, kicking, whatever. But we can shake each other's hand, say well done, good fight. But at the end of the day, it's business, and he's in my way.
As you can tell there, Linton Vassell, all business, doesn't really care about who he fights. Obviously, rather punch Ryan Bader. We'll get on to that pretty soon anyway. You watched my last show, you'll know what I'm talking about. The third question of this show is very, very important. This is one that I really wanted to get into and break down. Hope the answer really covers it, but if not, I'm going to explain why I asked this question and really sort of cover it myself as a key point to look out for in the fight. And it's just something I'm really intrigued and interested in seeing as the fight unfolds between these two, because I do believe there's certain areas both fighters will want to stay out of. Obviously all fighters have got their own skills, etc. Liam, he does a lot of good work off his back. Linton Vassell is good in the wrestling, good in the scrambles, creating these scrambles for himself, and he likes to control posture of his opponents and really break them down with his ground and pound. So, for question 3, it's Linton Vassell. In terms of styles, Liam McGarry is like a praying mantis, sucking his opponents meticulously into his world with his deadly long limbs, taking off body parts at first chance. You, Linton, are like the bullet ant, powerful in your control, good in the scramble, and deadly with your sting. How does the power and scramble of Linton Vassell penetrate the suffocating web of Liam McGarry's ground game? Now, I describe Liam McGarry as a praying mantis because the praying mantis, they like to use the long limbs to pull their opponent, the prey, deeper into their world, into the danger, which is pretty much what Liam McGarry does. Once the praying mantis has their prey, their opponent, locked in their limbs, it's pretty much game over from that point forward, which is most often the case with Liam McGarry. And his lockdown from bottom half guard is pretty much a sweep or a submission waiting to happen, or at the very minimum he's going to look to disturb your base and stop you from ground and pounding him. So what's my point in comparing Liam McGarry to a praying mantis? Well, pretty much praying mantis, it sucks them into the guard and pretty much takes off the limbs of their opponent. So therefore I'm using that as a metaphor comparison to draw Linton Vassell's reactions to being in potentially Liam McGarry's guard in the fight, and how he would react to being there, and what he thinks of being in Liam McGarry's guard. So that's why I compared him there. I just wanted to use an analogy, something spiced up a little bit. Check out bugs fighting on the internet. It might not be a thing, but I mean, in terms of the redback spider, a very intelligent creature, all these bugs when they battle each other, they're born certain ways, but the fighting styles are very interesting. So yeah, if you look at a praying mantis, you would agree that it looks well, I won't say it looks, yeah, but it certainly fights a lot like Liam McGarry, for sure. So I compared Linton Vassell to a bullet ant, so let's get on to why I compared Linton Vassell to a bullet ant. Well, a bullet ant is very good in scrambles, very quick in the scrambles, lightning quick. Go and check out a bullet ant, check out his scramble, absolutely amazing. And he actually scramble. Also quick and strong, just like Linton, so easy comparison there. Bullet ant has one hell of a sting, just like Linton Vassell does. He likes to ground and pound and open up his opponents. He doesn't really need to use the ground and pound to open up his opponents, but I suppose he just punishes them and breaks them down and swarms them. He'll ground and pound them, take away the defences, make them cover up, and he'll just transition from one good position to another position until he takes a submission. Keeps them busy, swarms them even until he breaks them with strikes, or he submits them and opens them up. Hence the nickname the Swarm. So how does Linton Vassell apply his game in the Lee McGeary fight? How does he out-scramble Lee McGeary? How does he break him down with the sting? If you watch Linton Vassell's fights, he likes the front headlock position. Obviously the front headlock position, it opens up mainly side control with a lot of various manoeuvres that you can do from that position. I do believe Linton will be looking for the arm drag or duck under. I'm not sure he'll set up, there's many ways to set up too. Try and take the back of Lee McGeary. From there he will try and drag the fight to the mat. He will either lift and suplex Liam, or he'll lift and sweep Liam from there. If you see Linton getting the old S-lock, I'll show you S-lock now. S-lock's that. If you get started, that allows for a little bit more room to trip Liam. So he'll be dragging him, then he'll try and trip him. He'll try for the outside trip. If you see a gable, that means he's going to lift Liam up, and that's when he'll lift and sweep or lift and suplex. Also to note, Liam's got very, very long limbs. I'm sorry for this drawn out explanation, but I really wanted to explain why I'm asking these questions. Obviously to highlight and pinpoint the key areas, what I believe to be the key areas, before we get on to the answer. I will get on to the answer next, but I just want to note this down as well. I mean, I could have gone further, I could have gone longer, because there's so many ways of setting these things up too. You could fake with something, you could try and change levels, that's how you get the front headlock. Fake, your opponent goes to sprawl, bang, you got the head, there you go. You also have to close the distance too. How will he close distance? Will he wait for Liam to close distance? Will he counter? There's so many ways to set these things up. I mean, even against the cage, there's many ways there. I mean, we know Linton probably wants side control on this, but he won't want side control up against the cage. So I could have gone further. I mean, I want to go further, but there's no point. At least I'm going to fight exciting, you know. See how things sort of pan out. But I just wanted to cover these key things. One more thing to note, which I do believe is a key thing to highlight to your viewers, to your listeners. Keep looking there, Greg. Is Liam McGeary's got very long legs now. In terms of defensive lines in jiu-jitsu and fighting, this is a lot more useful for Liam with his long limbs. So your first line of defense is your feet. That's you're on your back, you kick away, you can do up kicks, etc. I mean, it's pretty. You grab the ankles, you can brush them to one side and get side control, right? There is ways around that as well. Try and avoid that. Your long limbs do come to play there with your hands. Second defensive line is obviously your knees. You got the knee shield. You see opponents turn into their opponent. You see fighters turn into the opponent. They stick the knee shield up, get their hand up, and that's usually how fighters stand up. Usually put their hand on their head, clear the feet, put their hand on their head, and then back to the feet. With these things, just off the sheer length of his thighs, his legs, and then you got his hand there too, it's going to be a lot easier for Liam McGeary to stand up as well. So that's another reason why, even if you try and ground and pound, you got all the ankles and you try and ground and pound, that's such a longer way to go, and you can get swept or reversed just off trying ground and pound from being at defensive line 1. Also, defensive line 3 is the hands. That's the last line defence. After that, if you get your hands trapped or you get mounted, obviously there's other ways there, but you know, you can try hip escape, etc. But that's like, you're in the danger zone pretty much there. But there is obviously ways to get out there. But defensive line 1, defensive line 2, defensive line 3 is the hands, I'll say. Last line defence, I would say the hands is, but I mean, you got other ways. You can bridge and roll, hip escape, etc. You do give up your back, but I mean, there is still some survival techniques beyond that. So I just wanted to know that too. That's another reason. Stay the fuck away from Lee McGeary's guard, and play his own game and take his back and try and get that side control. And if once he's got the side control on the back and he's away from Liam McGeary's legs, just the sheer scrambling ability of Linton Vassell will keep him clear of danger, because he'll always be one step ahead then. He's in the more dominant position, the back control, side control. Whatever Liam tries, he tries to create these scrambles. Linton Vassell will be one step ahead, and his scrambling ability, his scrambling speed will keep him ahead. Not to mention his strength and control as well. So I do believe, I'm not sure if he's a gambling person, but I do believe Linton Vassell will be the underdog in this fight, because Liam was a former champion, because Liam, I won't say he's faced the better names, but coming off a fight with Phil Davis, and obviously recently Tito Ortiz, I do believe in the bookies' eyes. I don't know, they have been quite smart recently, but if it's close odds, I would put the money on Linton Vassell. Anyway, let's get on to Linton Vassell's answer before I go even further on the fucking houses and the old tales too. Here's Linton Vassell's answer.
Basically, I've got to do what I do best, and that's top mount or even side control position, and just make it so awkward for him that he wants to quit. If he doesn't quit from that, I'll get the referee to pull me off. I know he's tricky. He's got that slick inverted triangle. He's got arm bars, and he's got other stuff that he probably hasn't even shown. But I just got to be on top of my game and just work my top position perfect, or even bottom, or wherever we are. I've got to be first, and I just got to make it my fight. Make him feel so uncomfortable in there.
Okay, so moving on to question 4. You watched my show about 2 weeks ago with Linton Vassell, where he posted a Facebook comment to me. I wasn't sure why Ryan Bader made this comment to him, but it was over social media. He explains in just a minute. Ryan Bader said, "Who the fuck is that guy?" when Linton Vassell offered to welcome him to Bellator. I wanted to know if Linton Vassell was disrespected by that comment. He's had about roughly 8 fights, I think, in Bellator now. Only lost 2, so I think he's about 6-2 in Bellator. Could be wrong, but still, he's had quite a lot of fights in there. He's been a title contender previously, was dominating Emmanuel Newton before he sort of tired out. He gave up a lot of position in that fight, which he felt he could have held. He tried to advance his position probably a little bit too much in the fight. Got tired out. Some cracking scrambling. I'm not sure if you underestimated Emmanuel Newton, but that guy was slippery as a fish, pretty much. And he ended up getting a naked choke with no oxygen whatsoever. Then in the second fight, again, a very close fight. That was a scramble fest again. If you love the scrambles, absolutely beautiful scrambling in that fight. I do believe Linton won the third fight by putting his back towards the cage. He put his back towards the cage when he was trying to take his back. I believe Emmanuel had 1 hook in. If he got that second hook in, that would have been it. It was the last round, about a couple of minutes left. It was a close fight. Linton took the decision in that fight, so I believe. I could be wrong. I try and remember all these fight outcomes. I sort of remember certain bits about the fight, but sometimes I got the ending wrong. So do not take that as the actual full truth. The way I described the fight pan out, that was true, but I'm not sure it was a decision in the second fight. I do believe it was a decision now. I could check, but again, I'm fucking rambling. Right, so anyway, Ryan Bader said, "Who the fuck is that guy?" Stealing Conor McGregor's quotes, his one-liners, and I just wanted to know if he felt disrespected by that. Big fish coming over, but how big is the fish in Ryan Bader? He's got some decent wins over in the UFC. I was looking at his record. I thought it was a lot worse than what it was actually, but it's not. But the UFC, they felt like he was, like he's had his chance in terms of the title, and he's failed a couple of times, and it's time to move on and build his name back up. So apparently, Linton Vassell was not the name to build his name back up. So how did Linton Vassell feel about that? Let's find out.
No, it's just social media, isn't it? In the day, like, you take stuff like that all like to heart, then you're in the wrong business. He said what he had to say to make her laugh. I replied, obviously, saying, come up with your own material, how original, and say he knows who I am. He says he doesn't. He knows who I am.
So for question 5, this was another follow-on. As you can tell, it's another follow-on. I wanted to ask, if you was, I know it doesn't bother you now, you just take it as part of the game, which it is part of the game, but I mean, if you're in the cage with him, I mean, if you do manage to fight Ryan Bader, which he hasn't signed with Bellator yet, so I believe, but I mean, all signs are pointing towards him heading there. But do you know what, there could be a turnaround, so this could even be fucking pointless, but I mean, you can't help it. I mean, you got the contenders in Bellator, and you got a big signing going over, you definitely want to ask him these questions. it's good to get the ball rolling anyway early. So in terms of when he does sign, the match is already there. I mean, he might even already have an opponent due to all the shit talking, whatever it may be. But anyway, I wanted to ask Linton Vassell, and I did ask him, if you do get in the cage with Ryan Bader at Bellator, will it be in the back of your mind, do you think? Maybe you might think this from previous fights where someone's talked shit and it's in the back of his mind when he's in the cage room. But I mean, sometimes against the likes of Ryan Bader, I believe that Linton can out-jips Ryan Bader on the ground. He's got him on his back. Now, will he like overextend with a powerful shot, powerful elbow, and switch his body weight just to try and get that big shot to make him pay? You know, if it was in the back of his mind, he wanted to make him pay, like, who the fuck am I? Here you go. So I wanted to ask that question. Would that be in the back of your mind, and will you maybe give him a pretty hard dig for saying what he said about you? So let's find out.
Oh, I'll just be like, say my name. That's what I'm going to be like, say my name.
Question 6. This was another off-the-cuff question. Another follow-up, maybe. I don't believe it was a follow-up, but it was certainly an off-the-cuff question. You hear Linton now. I spoke to Linton a few times, and he's quite a funny character. He's very jokey. He's very respectful and decent character, that's for sure. But I mean, he seems like a guy who can crack a joke, and he seems like a good laugh. And I do believe Linton Vassell, if he was to get on the mic, and I don't mean disrespectful like Ben Rothwell, where it's just totally fucking scripted and retarded. I mean, in terms of just maybe cracking a joke and saying some shit to the fans, I believe just doing that, because he's very talkative on his social media. He's coming out of his, I won't say shell, but I mean, you got to put yourself in a fighter's shoes. I mean, a lot of these fighters, they just want to fight for competing, they just want to win. I mean, it's going to be a weird thing having fans, you know. I can't relate to having a large fan base, you know, so it's interesting to know, when do you get used to that and when do you play into that, because it is the business side of things, and it is a part of the game, connecting with the fans, why people want to watch you. I mean, there's fights going on all around the fucking world each weekend. I mean, you can watch fights on YouTube, just flick it on. Why do you want to sit there and watch Linton Vassell? I mean, for the hardcore fans, for a good portion of the fans, you know his skill set, and you want to see how he compares against this other fighter, and what tactics going to be laid out. What's he going to try and avoid? What's he going to try and go for? What's he going to risk? What's he not going to risk? I mean, in terms of me being a fan, that's what I look for. Do I love a good background story? Do I love someone speaking and get me more interested? You're damn right I do. And it is part of the game. And I wanted to know if Linton would get on the microphone after the Lee McGarry fight, if he was victorious. And it is a #1 contenders fight. It is Scott Coker's confirmed that. His fight against Lee McGarry in London is a #1 contenders fight. But I just wanted to ask him, would you get on the mic and make a statement in a way? With that, will that sort of spur you on to speak up a little bit? If you do get the victory in your next fight against Liam, still like in your post-fight speech in the cage, etc.
The way I see this fight, it's a #1 contender fight.
Yeah.
Liam was former champion. I'm on a 2-fight win streak. When I win this fight, I'm going to be on a 3-fight win streak. I don't see anyone that's on that streak right now. You know, Ryan Bader is just a name, you know, at the end of the day, but I want the champion. So whoever was the champion at the time, that's who I want to face.
Scott Coker did reference to that recently in the media around London, what he was doing when MVP and Semtex was there. He did reference and mention that your fight with Liam was probably a #1 contender fight. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did, yes.
Okay. Also, Rashad Evans, he dropped the bomb. Question number 7, Rashad Evans dropped the bomb on the Amera. Black Zillions is no more, disbanded. Henry Hoof's got his own gym now, he left. He was the striking coach there. He's took, I think, pretty much all the Black Zillion guys gone over there. Linton Vassell has gone with Henry Hoof to Combat Club, his new team. I do believe it's in Florida too. Boca Raton, Florida. That's where Linton's pretty much spending most of his time. I do believe it's around there anyway. It might not be precise there, but it's around there. So I want to ask him if anything's changed. Is it just a name change? Because if all the Black Zillion guys, all the Black Zillion personnel, coaches, etc., if they've all gone over there and there's only been a couple just leaving, is the same regime schedule? Is it still the same? Is that set in place? Is it just a change of owner and a change of name pretty much? So let's find out if his training's been altered. Because we see a lot of fighters, when they change gyms constantly and they get different routines and different schedules and different personnel, they don't usually churn out the results what they're supposed to. I put it down more to a fighter. I believe that they're already losing passion, etc., and they sort of blame the coaches and blame teams. That's why they travel around so much, and that's why they're losing. It's not anything to do with the coaching teams. But still, it's important to... I mean, Linton's been doing pretty well with his setup and his regime, so let's see if it stayed the same.
Seriously, nothing's changed. I do actually do the same routines on the same days. You know, like, so nothing's changed. Mondays I still do the MMA. Tuesday I still spar. Wednesday I still do my wrestling, and so on and so on. So that's a good thing. Nothing has actually changed on the days I used to do my actual training. You know, obviously a few new faces, which is always good. But yeah, I'm happy. Nothing has stopped me from training. I'm taking a few days off just because, you know, I've still got like 9.5 weeks. You know, so no point overtraining. You know, I've still got plenty of time. Just honing my skills. Still doing Saturday practice. Training with the guys. Bit of rolling. Still sparring. Not hard, but you know, enough to get a technique and so on.
Right, let's move on to the 8th and final question for today. I'm not tired because I'm talking to you guys. It's been a very rough night, and yeah, rough day. So, for question 8, what changes to your training routine will you be making as the fight draws closer with Lee McGeary? Obviously, he's got his regular training regime set out, but I mean, against someone like Lee McGeary, at this level, his caliber of skill set, and just for the fact he's such a tricky fighter, and this fight's so important, I wanted to know if there's going to be any changes dialed in. You know, what will he cut back? What will he replace that with in the lead up to the fight with Lee McGeary?
Well, one thing I won't be doing is overtraining. I used to overtrain quite a lot, but in my own head I wasn't. But I know that now, after obviously years and years of fighting, you sort of realise I was getting ill because you're overtraining too much, or I was getting injured because you're pushing it a bit too much. You don't need to. Listen to your body. Sometimes you're going to wake up feeling achy, and you just decide, so what, I won't push it as hard as I would. You know, and yeah, just look after yourself. But the only things that will change is probably the intensity. You know, in some of the training, in some of the actual training that I do. I'm probably going to go running for a little bit longer than I usually do, and I'm probably going to add a little bit more swimming into my training as well.
Okay, that's about for the 8 question Q&A with Linton Vassell. Hope you all enjoyed the show, guys. If you want to check out his fight, May 19th at Bellator 179, it's at the SSE Arena. Well, I always know that as the Wembley Arena. I'm not sure it's called the Wembley Arena now. But that's the Wembley Arena where UCMA used to hold events, I do believe, Cage Rage. Obviously, Linton had a few fights for UCMA, so I'm assuming he might have defended his UCMA belt lightweight title back there previously. Visit the Bellator website, find out you can purchase tickets. As always, Channel 5 Star, etc. You can always catch Bellator on there. You can go onto the Channel 5 website, Fight Demand, etc. So if you do miss it, you can go and check on the internet. Alright, Crypters, that's a wrap for today's show. If you like today's show, give it a like. If you're new to the channel, you like today's show, give it a subscribe too, it means a lot. But most importantly, please give it a share it around. It's very hard to share videos nowadays on different accounts, so please, sharing means a lot to me. If you enjoyed today's show, give it a share. And yeah, new to the show, give it a subscribe. But for today's show, Crypters, as always guys, thank you for watching.